Alright, it's gonna be a very quick live. I'm not gonna be around for too long. So let's go over ES and NQ and the trade that we took today. And kind of go over that trade we took in the PM session. So this was the look on PM session today. Let's exit that. Let's go here. Let's go to the 15-minute chart. So ES 15-minute today. Obviously we moved all the way up into, we swept all types of liquidity, right? We if you go on the daily chart on ES, we swept all types of liquidity, right? We took out 40 or 45.14, which was the area of buy side I was looking at to get tapped into, and then we tapped into this daily order block. So up here I was looking for shorts, even though we are gapped up a lot, but this is why I waited for basically the 15-minute chart to actually take the trade and not any smaller time frame, because 15 minutes is going to provide us with the confirmation that we need on for a day trade. So wait, can't see the screen. Hold up. It should be good to go. It's shared. Ew. Yeah, I think it is. Everyone else good? You guys can see the screen? Yes. Yes. Alright, cool. So, ES swept this buy side area here, tapping into this daily order block, and I was looking at basically taking a short scalp at this level. Because, like I said, we have so many gaps lower, right? Eventually, we're going to break structure to downside. Any new sweeps on ES and NQ, I do like taking shorts up there because it is going to be a very high probability area to kind of get those shorts, right? It would be different if we were, prices moving, we tap back into these imbalances. We're not going to leave this whole move tapped into. We're going to come tap into eventually, so keep that in mind. But for a smaller time frame, let's go back on the 15-minute chart. Basically, I was waiting for some displacement on ES on the 15-minute chart to actually take a short. And if you guys keep going, you guys can see that we clearly created a 15-minute FEG right here. So I had this marked out. Also note that this is also a breaker, right? This is a failed order block turned into a breaker. So we have a breaker FEG here. We do have that unicorn setup forming for the downside. For my area of liquidity, I was just marking out any 15-minute lows. So we had a 15-minute low right here, right? And then we would have tapped into some FEG. So this was my area of liquidity. And at this point, it was just simply waiting for a retracement to here. And this is where I actually called out the SPY puts for today. That's 0DTE SPY puts. And we got, about 100% move on those. So that's very clean. And I want to show you guys something on where we bounced at. So if you guys look at this 11 o'clock candle, right? What you guys will notice is why it's important to watch ES and NQ at the same time to kind of get your entries. If you were on futures and you had your take profit at this area right here, you wouldn't have got filled. But let's look at it, like I said, 11 o'clock. Let's look at NQ and see what NQ was doing at that time. So let's go to the 15-minute on NQ. Right around 11 o'clock. Right? 11 o'clock happened there. So on NQ, that low, right, we had this low here and we actually took it out. So we had these relative equal lows down here. So right here from 9 o'clock and also 6:45, we had those equal lows. Once those equal lows or relative equal lows got swept, you guys can notice the S&T that started to form between ES and NQ. So I could, visually draw it out here, right? That was the S&T forming on ES and NQ. So you could visually, very clearly see it. As soon as you see one of those indices take out that area of liquidity, you got to take another trim, full close position, or whatever the case may be. And you could have had this as your next area of liquidity, but it's all about the reactions, right? So this was definitely an area of take profit that you wanted to kind of trim your position at on ES and NQ. And that was pretty much the trade for the PM, because this was right after lunch hour, 10:30. This is perfect. You get an entry around this time. It was choppy, so we did have to wait a little bit. But like I said, we got that S&T down here, and that pretty much took us into the next leg higher towards the end of the day, and then we kind of just came down rest of the day, as you guys can see. So tomorrow we have PPI. Expect another crazy move like this. Probably not as crazy, but it'll give us a good move. Like I think CPI gave us what? around a 60-point range. Yeah, that's a lot, right? So I'm guessing PPI will give us about a 20 or 30-point range on the initial news candle. Feel free to use your top step accounts, right? If you guys bought some, might as well, right? They're $11 a pop. This is kind of why you get them, and just kind of mess around with them if you guys want to. With that. Also, so I actually posted in the Discord. I was like, okay, I was like, all right, I was like, no reactions today. That everyone blow their ports, right? I said it as a joke, as like a fun joke, but I actually got 6 to 7 DMs. Actually, people saying they blew their ports. So, what I will always tell people is, first of all, and I guess the most common issue, right, is that the portfolios are less than $1,000. Well, you're trying to trade 0-day contracts without $1,000 or with less than $1,000. That tells me you are looking for a what? You're looking for a home run play. Now, how often do we get home run plays? Especially, right? We might get the home run move. We got the home run move, but catching that move is also another part of that, right? So you guys really need to stop doing that. And like I said, if you guys have a portfolio under $1,000, I'm gonna be straight up with you. You shouldn't even put that money back in your bank account. Use it for groceries, use it for rent, whatever you gotta do. Grab a funded account and start trading on that. Because if you have an account less than $1,000, you can't even practice real trading, right? Your parameters are gonna be so tight on what your stop loss is or what anything is, you can't even see a move play out because you're going to be looking to take profit too early. You're going to be looking at a stop out too early, whatever the case may be. You can't even let trading be trading because you're always going to have that, you have that small port, your contracts, that means you're probably going to take smaller contracts, which probably means you're going to get data burned a lot quicker on options. So, and if you guys still want to practice on a live environment, go to futures with less than 1,000. Honestly, go to futures in general. Like, I don't really see the point in trading options over futures at all. The only reason I alert options and actually take them is because the Discord still takes them. If you guys were all on futures, I wouldn't even ever touch options. So, especially with the less than $1,000 account, I get it. Everyone's in a different financial spot. Like, I'm not saying, oh, you don't give up on trading or whatever the case may be. No, but let's be responsible here. Take that money out, put it back in your bank account, use it for something else, and to start trading on a funded account or, something along those lines. Because options with a small account is not going to work out. It's just absolutely not. The account that I took from $1,000 to $10,000, right, in a month. You guys really think I only risked 10% per trade? No, it was a full port almost every single trade until I got to $6,000, $7,000, and I could actually start properly managing my risk, right? There's a reason I don't do the super duper small challenge, because you're going to have to full port anyways. We'll start our futures challenge tomorrow. You guys can see it'll be a proper risk management, 4-point stop, whatever the case may be. It's a little easier to manage, a small. I consider a 5K account still a small account, right? It's going to be easier to manage if you're looking to day trade on futures than it is on options. So I would first of all get off of options. Second of all, if you don't have over $1,000 to trade with, I would not even open a brokerage account. I wouldn't even fund my account because this is not going to be worth it. It's going to be a money sink, right? Every time you deposit $400, $500, just take the last 6 months, right? Imagine all those $400, $500 deposits you did. Imagine if you did it on one go. Right, it would not be the same result. Trading, multiple $500 ports is not the same as trading one $5,000 port. The $5,000 port is going to be easier, and even if you blow that, right, which it happens, it's trading. You're going to gain more experience in actual trading, right? Actual risk management, actual take profit, multiple take profits, multiple contracts. You're actually going to be trading versus when you're running a small account, you're getting data burned unless SPY has a $10 move, right? Because you're taking so far out the money contracts, you're not really, you're not really trading. I don't even consider that trading. It's very, it's like you're kind of holding yourself back in a sense. And that kind of holds your learning progress as well kind of back, right? Because it doesn't allow you to get the full feel of trading. And especially with news days like this, you're gonna be volatile, right? So if you're trading options or you're trading whatever the case may be, let's say you enter, let's just say you entered, shorts down up here and you didn't take any profits, right? And your stop was above here. Well, you got to realize, like, these are going to be very, like, wide stops, right? And you can't size the same. You can't really do anything like the same as you usually do because on news days, we're going to, we expand and the expansions happen very fast. So when your stop loss, if you're playing the chart as your stop loss, usually it's going to run, over that 30-40%, stop loss on options because of how volatile the move actually is, and sometimes you won't even get filled. So you got to keep that in mind as well. So if you're new or you're working with a very small account, first of all, I wouldn't even say trade, but if you are going to ignore that warning, at least take the warning of not trading these news days, because you're better off trading a day that ranges back and forth versus a move like this. Because not only does these type of days keep you bag holding, if you're bag holding shorts down here, you're like, oh, it's going to reverse. No, it's not. It's a trend day, right? These are the home run days, but let's be realistic here, guys. How many of you guys are actually going to catch a home run move? I'm not going to catch a home run move. I'll tell you that much right now, right? The most maybe I'll catch in options is maybe 200%. I'm not catching 1,000, 2,000%. Those, they happen. They happen very rarely. And like I said, when's the last time I had 1,000% play? I think it's been less since last May, right? Of 2022, or last June, something like that, of 2022. So those don't happen often. So if you guys are relying on those plays, which, like I said, I think if you're trading on a small account, you might be relying on those type of plays to get you in a better financial spot. And that's absolutely not going to be the move. I don't know if you guys were kind of watching the chat earlier when Serge was talking, and he's talking about how much of a relief it is, like, to not have to worry about making money and trading necessarily right away, because he's, you have your job on the side that brings in the income. This should just be a completely like learning experience. And like I said, you can't have a proper learning experience with a small account. It's just not possible. It really isn't. I've tried it, guys. I wouldn't sit here and tell you guys it's not. I don't want to ruin anyone's dreams. I don't want to crush anyone's dreams. But if you, like I said, go back 6 months and see how many times you put in little deposits, right? You add those all up, and now you're like, damn, what if I just had that in one single port? Now, because I feel like if you're blowing, $300 to $400 ports over and over again, you're not learning anything. Like, because you can't really trade. I can't emphasize that enough. It's not even real trading. It's praying. Like when Noah jokes around and calls it religious trading, it's literally religious trading. You can't risk just 10% on a $400 port and be okay with it. It's literally gambling. You're right. It is gambling. So just be mindful of that. Just be mindful of that, because that's how I used to be when I started. I would go with these little ass deposits, not learn anything, and then I would look back 3-4 months. I'm like, holy shit, what if I just had that at one port at one single time? I'd rather have you guys lose $5,000 over the span of 2 months in one port than doing little ass deposits, because I promise you, you're gonna learn way more in those 2 months than you ever had with those small accounts. It's just not doable. And that's why when you see people doing Twitter challenges with small accounts, or like I said, I'm gonna go back to myself. When you saw me do that challenge, bro, I was full porting almost every single play until like I got a good cushion, right? And then I started properly managing my risk. But even then, when I was in it with like a $5,000 account, I was risking like $1,500 a day. That's way over what you're supposed to be risking anyways. But that's just the nature of a small account, right? You can't have that 1 to 5% risk with that small account, unless you are a very disciplined trader. You're happy with your $40 to $50 a day. You're cool, perfect. That works for you. But 99.9% of people aren't, right? They're looking to make $300 and they're risking, their full port, and then doing a 1-to-1 RR with the entire portfolio. That's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a 1-to-1 RR with what you put in the trade, and that's supposed to be, and that trade is supposed to be less than 5% of your actual thing. And like I said, some people in here, like I don't know if you guys know, we have some whales in here. We really do. Like we have some people in here with $100,000 to $200,000, $300,000 accounts, right? They risk less than 1%, and that's when you can, obviously, I'm not saying everyone's gonna be, but they risk less than 1%. You could actually let the trade play out. I would say, I was talking to Alex with this earlier, 5K minimum for day trading, and I know that's a lot of money, bro, but that's just, for you to get the full experience, it has to be around that area, because if not, just use a funded account, right? And what you could do with those funded accounts is, secure your payout. Like I said, it's going to take if you can't get a payout in a funded account, in my opinion, you're not a disciplined trader. That's how I look at it. Because a funded account puts you in very tight parameters, which are doable. They're very doable, especially with Top Step. And if you can't kind of get past, with that, it kind of gets dicey, because that means you're probably over risking, you're over leveraging on that, and it probably reflects to what you're doing in your own portfolio. It's not like, oh, I could trade here like this and then go back to my portfolio and trade like this. No, it's a mindset thing. It's not, it's not just, oh, I'm gonna do this with this account, whatever the case may be. Especially if you're not profitable yet, or you're going into maybe you're a little bit profitable and you're kind of picking it up, because it's going to be all about consistency and building good habits. And like I said, I'm gonna say it again, with small accounts you cannot build good habits. I don't care what anyone says. They have not ran up a small account challenge, did not ran up a small account without full porting every single time, back to back to back, right? Getting those good streaks. Why do you guys think I started my 1K challenge when I did? because I knew the market was going to tank. So I could go back to back to back heavy full port swings, and I know they would pay, right? That's another thing. Timing in the market. Where are we at right now? We're 2023 in November. What happened last November? How bad did we chop last November? What happens in December, right? People take their breaks in December. December price action. What is it? It's a zigzag. All it does is chop all day. How many people get rinsed looking for those external moves? And we're probably going to get some consolidation here. Probably going to be like 15, 20 days of consolidation where we just literally barcode on ES and NQ all day long. And it's gonna happen. I don't know exactly when it's gonna start, but I promise you it's gonna happen. Look at this move we just had. The trading year is over, guys. Like, this year 2023 for trading is over. All the moves already happened for the year. We're not gonna get some crazy move, in my opinion at least. We're not gonna go up here or back all the way down here. I think the yearly move has already happened, and you look at the monthly. We've had a pretty crazy year on where we started, where we ended. I do think the yearly move has already happened, so now it's just kind of relax, chill, and just collect yourself. You don't want to be trading, especially during these conditions. If we start getting very choppy, you guys will see me. I'll maybe not even trade for maybe a couple weeks on end, because I traded it last year. I got chopped up bad, right? It's not gonna happen again this year, and you live and learn. So I'm just gonna tell you guys what's to come. What's potentially to come is a very high chance we come to that, where we just start chopping around. Like, these moves are very violent. This is some of the craziest moves I've ever seen on SPY in the last 12 days. On NQ, we moved 1,800 points in 12 trading days, or 14 trading days. 12 green days, 2 red days, and those red days were just creating order blocks and stuff. So, like I said, we almost had a 2,000 point move on NQ, and then people are still going to look for some crazy expansion moves. Come on, let's put the pieces together. 2 and 2. Do we really think it's going to happen? No. And that's where options are really going to start getting, burnt. And that's where you're going to see Twitter transition into what? They're going to go back into futures. They're like, oh, we're getting theta burn. They're going to go to futures. And, people just switch it back and forth. Because they're kind of addicted to trading. And they want to keep trading. So, that was my little 20-minute rant that I have for you guys. Just because I got those messages, and I was like, oh, I was just kind of playing around, but I guess people did end up blowing their ports. Most of them have small accounts, and you guys know how I feel about those small accounts. Even this 5K account I'm just trying to do it to prove that you guys can do it with the 5K account on futures, especially because you could properly manage your risk. You know exactly when there's no external factor on in terms of your P&L. There's no data, no nothing like that to kind of affect your trading. It's just you and the chart, and if you're right or wrong, simple. So, any questions, guys, you guys have for me, whether it's from the chart, whether it's from something else, just let me know.